So wait a minute. I have to say the word but how many times? I mean, it's the word but, and you expect me to say it that many times without laughing? Hey kids, welcome back to another episode of Grammar Shorts, where I talk about grammatical things, but in a very short amount of time. Today, because, but, so, and how you can use those three words to make plain, ordinary, basic sentences sound pretty amazing. I often like to say that this particular exercise or this particular way of thinking about your writing can make you sound exactly as smart as you really are. Sometimes there are things that you can do to make you sound smarter than you really are, but right now I just want to make sure that all of the smarts that are actually in your head make it onto the paper. The way because, but, so works as an exercise, you memorize those three words, because, but, so, is that you can take a sentence and at the end of the sentence you can put in the word because, or the word but, or the word so. And you can write a second half to that sentence that adds so much value and so much meaning to the sentence. In past videos, I've used the sentence, I ate a sandwich. It's almost lunchtime here at the studio, and I'm thinking about sandwiches. Anyway, let's do I ate a sandwich, but with those words, because, but, and so. I ate a sandwich because I was hungry. What you're doing there, or what I did there, was I added an important piece of information explaining why. So here's a thing, because here's something else. That is a great way to add some meaning and some value to a sentence. I ate a sandwich, but I didn't touch the pickle. Two things. One, pickles are gross. Who actually eats, I don't understand that. But two, here I've added, again, some important information, a contrast, something that didn't happen, something that is different or unexpected. You can do that kind of thing with your sentence just with the simple word, but. I ate a sandwich, so I wasn't hungry when everyone ordered pizza later. So is a good way to express a consequence. So if because is a why, a so is a then this happens as a consequence. They're kind of opposites in that way. Again, it's a way to add some good information, some good context, or to extend your sentence in a way that makes you sound kind of smart. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Not because I'm psychic. Psychics continue not to be real. But just because I know you're thinking, Bullock, nobody cares about you and your stupid sandwiches. How can this help me with a school kind of question? So, team, can we get a school question? Sweet. Who was most responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet? Maybe I should have done a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Romeo and Juliet die at the end of the play. So this is a pretty common school question, and you can answer it with a very basic sentence. Friar Lawrence was most responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet. I think that's true. You can't change my mind. Okay, now imagine that we take that boring sentence and we add the word because. That's going to make us put in our reasoning, what it is that makes us think that this is true. Friar Lawrence was most responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet because it was his harebrained scheme in the first place to make Juliet fake her death. I'm going to stop to point out here that when you're using because in the middle of a sentence like this, there's no comma. Idea, because, reason, no commas involved. This is important. Keep that in mind. All right, let's take our boring Friar Lawrence sentence and instead of because, put in a but. Sorry, I can do it. I can do it. Friar Lawrence was most responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet, but Romeo should have been more patient waiting for Juliet to wake up. What we've done there is we've added a little bit of a wrinkle or a complication, or as some might call it, a concession or a limiting factor in some way. We've basically said that, yes, Friar Lawrence is most responsible, but other people also bear some responsibility. That is a smart sentence. And just like the because sentence before, you're adding an additional piece of your thinking, an additional something that you're going to be able to defend with evidence as an idea that is perhaps more interesting than what your teacher would be expecting from somebody else who is not smart enough to watch my videos. And did you notice? There's a comma in that one. Any of the fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. When you're using them in the middle of a sentence like that, you have to have a comma before them. It's always comma but, never but comma. If because gives us a reason why a thing happened, and but gives us a little bit of a concession as to how it's not completely 100% definitely black and white that way. So lets us imagine what a consequence could be. Friar Lawrence was most responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet, so both the Capulet and Montague families should demand justice for him. Because so is one of the fanboys, you need a comma on this one as well. Let's go back and think about because for a second. I mean, you can do something pretty cool with it, which is turn it from because into because and because. So we take our Friar Lawrence sentence. Friar Lawrence was most responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet because it was his stupid idea to have Juliet fake her death, and because he never told Romeo the plan. That's a pretty good sentence because now you've got two pieces of reasoning or two lines of reasoning that you can explore in the rest of whatever it is that you're writing. I assume that if you're answering a question like this, it's an essay question or at least a short answer paragraph question. I would like to point out there's no comma before the first because. However, since we've got a fanboy, we've got and, we do put a comma before the and in the and because. That's important. You should remember that. One other cool thing that you can do with because is you can move the because part of a sentence to the beginning. It doesn't have to be the second half of the sentence. Now, it's possible that at some point in your life, some English teacher has told you never start a sentence with the word because. The reason why they tell you that is that they're afraid you're going to forget that a because sentence has to have two parts, and that you're going to do the because part, put a period, and move on without doing anything for the second part. But what you can really do is you can put the because part there at the beginning, comma, and then the part that was not the because, the part that needed the because, needed the reason. So if we do that to our Friar Lawrence sentence, what we get is, because it was his harebrained, stupid, ridiculous idea to make Juliet fake her own death in the first place, comma, Friar Lawrence was most responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet. We've got both parts of the sentence there. It doesn't matter that we started with the because part. Both parts are there. It's a good sentence. Now you're probably wondering, if you can put because at the beginning, can you put a because and because at the beginning? And the answer is yes. Here's what we can do to our Friar Lawrence sentence. Because it was Friar Lawrence's cockamamie scheme in the first place to make Juliet fake her death, and because he never got around to telling Romeo, because it's a kind of important thing that you should tell Romeo that her death is faked and it's not real, and so don't drink the poison, bro. Friar Lawrence was most responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet. And I would like to point out, just like in the because, when we put because at the beginning, we do need a comma after the because part. But we also need a comma before the and, that fanboy, for the and because. So a because, and, where those are at the beginning of the sentence, that's going to require two commas. Anyway, because, but, so, I hope this really helps you sound just exactly as smart as you are when you are writing answers to school-related questions and not just talking about dumb things like sandwiches the way I do. I'll see you for the next one.